Okay, this video we're going to talk about indirect object pronouns. And they can only be people. When we talked about direct object pronouns, we said they can be people or things. So anytime you have an object that's a thing, then it has to be direct. Once it's a person, then it can either be direct or indirect. Okay, but indirects can only be people. The way you distinguish between the indirect and the direct is an indirect answers to or for in relation to the verb. Okay, so if you say give these to her, this is indirect because it has the word to in it. These are for my mom. Okay, so if it doesn't have the word to or for and it's a person, then it's going to be direct. But if it's a person and it answers the question to or for in relation to the verb, then it's going to be indirect. Now, with that said, they're very confusing trying to figure out. And so on the test, I don't put in there and I don't say like, oh, you have to decide if this is indirect or this is direct. On the test, it'll just say, hey, fill in the blank with the correct direct object pronoun, and then another section will say fill in the blank with the correct indirect object pronoun. So I don't know. I just didn't think it was fair to have you decide between those. I think they're so tricky to figure out anyway. So anyway, here's our direct object pronouns. Let's go over them in English first. So in Inglés, we have, it's the same as the direct, except we're going to put to there. So to me, to you, to him, or to her. The only one I didn't add was it, right? Because indirect object pronouns can only be people. They can't be things, and so we don't put the it there. To us, and again, this to could also be the word for. I just wrote the to in there just to remind us that you have to have one of those words in there. To you guys, and to them. Okay? So if we flip over here to the Spanish side, remember we talked about these three are always going to be the same. So it's going to be me, te, and nos. Those are always the same. This is os. The vosotros form is os, just os. And then down here we have le and we have les. Have we seen those before? Yes, we have. Those were when we did gustar. We had me gusta, te gusta, le gusta, nos gusta, les gusta. Okay? All right, so those are my indirect object pronouns. Now let's talk about when we use those and what they look like, okay? All right, let me erase this. All right. So the pronoun placement is the same as when we did for the direct object pronouns. I'm going to write it again in case somebody's just watching this video. Pronoun place, whoa, that's a C. Placement. Okay, one, in front of conjugated verb. And again, that will almost always be one of your option. Number two, attach to infinitive. Not all sentences have an infinitive in there, but if they do, then you can attach it, okay? So let's say, for example, you're going to say, give the flowers to my mom. Aww. Okay? So we say, da is give, las flores. Now this we're not worried about this one because we're focused on the indirect object, which is this right here. So if we're going to change it to a pronoun, we would say to her. Yeah? We take out my mom and change it to hers. But so if you go back to your chart, you look at to hers on the bottom left, and the equivalent in Spanish is le. So we're going to change this to le. Okay? But remember, it doesn't work in Spanish to leave it there. we have to move this in front of the conjugated verb. Well, notice that's the very first word of my sentence, which is okay. I just moved the le, now becomes the first word in my sentence. Le da las flores. Okay? Now, if you want to clarify, because remember, le doesn't, it could mean to him, to her. If we already know it's to my mom, and you don't need to clarify. But if you could say, you could put a little off phrase there. Le da las flores a mi mamá. Okay? Okay. And again, if you wanted to add in another verb, like I want to give the flowers to her, then you would end up with I want, which is quiero. That would be your conjugated verb. And then you'd say dar, to give. And so then you would have the option of where do you put the le? Do you put it in front of quiero, or do you attach it to dar? So the same option as you had in direct object pronouns. Okay? All right. I think that's about it.